Page number 9. Dunja namka lama pa me bala korjancho semba pad me be korwa nguse yo ba jum.
In the space in front appears the Guru, in the form of Amitabha, surrounded by an inconceivable retinue of bodhisattvas.
Namo Concho Sam Tan Sa Sam Jam Ne Na La Ja Sun Che Ro Ko San Je Lang Go Che Chan Chon Cho De Sem Je To Namo Concho Sam Za Sam Jam Ne Na La Ja Sun Che Ro Guan San Je Lang Go Che Chan Chon Jo De Sem Je To.
Namo to the three jewels and the three roots, the places of protection. I go for refuge. In order to establish all beings in Buddhahood, I give rise to the mindset on supreme awakening.
Page number 28. Rang Re Na Wan Ta Ye Ke Zong Zen Char Ve Sen La De Na Wan Ta Ye Lo Na Me Rang Re Chu Ge Ngom Tsa Chen.
Hong, innate awareness, is the form of Amitabha. Look at the mind that is free of subject-object duality. There is no other Amitabha than that. How wondrous is the truth body of self-knowing awareness.
Om Dewa She, 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 Om Dewa She. Om Beza Sado Samaya Mani Balaya Beza Sado Tenoba Dira Chudo Meba Sudugaya Mebawa
Sugogayo Mebawa Anarana Mebawa Sarvaside Mebayan Sarva Karma Suzame Didam Direya Guru Ha Ha Om Bhagavana Sarva Tata Gata Basama Me Ma Samaya Sado Om Bazara Bhume Ao Shi Nambara Daba Wanchen Se Ye Sa Shi Om Bajara Re Ye Ao Chi Chare Ma ju ye gu we gu su hong ri yang bo re ra sha le ba bo lo zam bo le no ba lang je chan ra me nye sha do le dang le pa lo nga ya da nga ya she Nam do yuen den dang lam chon ro shang do zha mi nian dang zhan nian jian da rin bo che rin bo ba sam ji xin de jo ye ba ma mo ba ye lo do ko lo rin bo che no bo rin bo che tu mo rin bo che lo bo rin bo che Lang bo rin bo che, da cho rin bo che, ma bo rin bo che, de jen ba ye bun ba, ge ba ma, ten wa ma lu. Min do ma, du bu ma, nang sa ma, di cha ma, nye ma, da wa, rin bo che, do cho le nam, ja wen ja chen, wi su la da me, ba je ro bun sun zo, ma zang wa me ba xin gam nam ba ra da ba de ni. Dorzin Dhondrup Rinpoche choki xiangan Tekpa chenpe lam cho rin chen tenwe sung chu sam Dengi shuwe yun tu bulwar ge on du je on du xie zo xian jing ge lam du zo sa xie bo xun chu xie Ram re ra lin xie yin de yang ba de san ye xin la min de pu wa zhou gu nam da xin dun zhe ba xiu gu su miong zuo la mi cuo nam qi na sang sum de xin yin ye zhen da le long zhe nang si yong xie La me cho ye mo zhou sa dun su nye che ma da sang bo din bo we jiang qiu lam la ba che me jiong du sum ye we gong ba dou ba si ba ra me zhu xie wa ra me ne Nam ga da nyam be zhou nam zhou wa xiu cha za wa dan ju jie xiang ba dan jie su ye ra gui xie so wa ye wa zhong se da ye ji sang ba tam jie zong bi xiang xiu xie mo la ma gu kam sang wa ra so wa Chodo gu se ring wa ra so wa den che le da xin ye ba ra so wa Lama dan da wa me ba ra xin ye lo ba de la me nam ba ra tar wa ge jie zam ya lo da me ge jin ze leng ba ra dong we meng gui La me jin la sim la ju bai xiu gang ri xie be gu wei xin gam su pen dan Dewa ma le jung wei chen re zi wan ten zin ya zu yin xian be si ding ba Ding yu jing gun ju rin chen sum ji ngo nian jiao den zin ba zhu bie bie ge ra dong gu zang bo jin ye xin zin ba chen le lun zhou xiang den yu gun ju sum ji den ba zin ba la nga jie wang chu ji zu jian bie Pu den rin chen zhe men de ze ban shi ye na we gan jie xia de yu Pao bei yun na a ya de wa xin do kam chou su gar ye ri su Jiden gombe tukse chudin ba balin gapchin kusin kaji yalden nikdu yalden nyakche neka tudun dorjin dambu dushu ye rime denbin kurjin da ye denbin nyemang gajin shamde so semjin namye samba Loye jenda jenda waran chejo tumo tenpai Chöge kolo gordo soy
Shizan kalan jiram jigo je zebe wadon tazilin na boy je dimba kong la san je kajiram boy che la ku san so rao min chi je yin je porana tisam san je kong jeng on Rasen ji gong song dong zebe zawe lam me sha de ke san za da so sim je tam je je lo chu san ro war sin je lab de chu lam don ro war sin je lab de so lam chu ba se wa sin je lab de chu ba yi shi san je wa sin je lab de so ye bir yu yu we ye bir la ye bir de we translatorけびら、こで、
よく聞こえます。
こで、
That's working. Thank you. Sorry, gondak ngati mute se to ako so. Tana jigitok.
こでは、
Tana ko to ya.
おや、てね、まあ、とまでやんちゅうたまらん、さむちゃひでれたん。てね、てれんがなぞた、あめではとんじゅ、けに、じぱ、ちゃかよれす。てね、てね、たんがなぞ、たんでたぶ、でたぶ、たんじゅじゅみりとんね。でね、담주주 밀린 데에네 돈유 빠라생 하나서 남주 밀리 돈유 바 밀리 돈다 딘바시가 밀리 돈다 딘바 밀리 돈다 딘바 생데 데네 담배 추주 예는 펜베 사와 드럽트나 데네 ko 담주주 밀리 돈다 딘바 차가요래 데네 데네 하나서 더다베체 냠주시바 더다보다 게와 드야 플랜틱데다 추동 망보지 플랜틱데 데네 하나서 더다베 냠메시야 데네 베 sunam chimbo o chakayores tonda dimba chi sunam sa tbayena meli tonda dimba chakayore tene tene ndatawa tene ngarange sosoke tutsu tang yorwa jila matsamala pe jila shwe yorwa korwele ka zoya yo marwa korwele ka tata chik tsana yang jo chik lebing gore yang man lugu tene sawa chik lebing gore yang sangu tene chinnam ton ramanda chik lebu yore jimsi mangbole tene kongko yo man dambe chudu yala 로 콩고요 말 때인데 되니 마콤사도 고추드야겠다 말하는 데 수남데 마찬가지로 봐 근데 되는 말하는 단드는 소진냠 요세타 데이터냐면 시바 때문에 수남 친구인 삼 그리고 수남 것도 없는데 나는 데이터냐면 지야 복합 중요산 되는 하나도 소소된데 지 삼았던 거래스 배나 말아레베 가르송스는 춥석가와 주발라 수남 파드 미바요소 텔라 거진 주발라 까딘 파드미 바인소 말한소 추도 남지 게발라 꿀마시 추기 나랑게 룽아 있음 그 게바 사와드야데 소남 파드미 바레소 추슬 까와 주고라 까블레트스 도와 말한소 쇼강 하올랑 배 주봉 그죠 가양 맞아지 배 급작할 정은 본도야 레라고 짜는면도 텐데 텔 까블레 휴 자고요로 오늘은 데이터 까블레 자베데 텔 소남 파드미 바요소 춥스 까와 주발라 소남 파드미 바요소 남중 가는서 까와 가르치 까와 kable khandeji jiba yana samon covid je chagre covid je dunga ki je chagre pene shoka ya lang gon tanga soso le hawn ro sawa dugiro sawa kare dna yana rewa chi yana toba chi redo tene nalo den jinsem tanda mande pe ko nyomo ba namdo ta tene che lunga ki magyawa te ko chappa na ji ngarang te dugiro basi te chama kable khandiji yana te chama ko dunga ki jun covid je chagyo ta madubran ren ko wana chese madubran ren yana ya ko dubde ba te tamje yan ko dunga ki je chagyo ta nga so tambe chu jumne chi ta ba mi tung ro jun hono no ne tene nyamne sia ngune nga kable hyoga ngawo ya la de yone pe gonda ma mani ko kawa ja kable ja te soso de chi tobya ke yo marwa yana ya sunam sa ga sunam sa sunam de tobo yo ba te tamje da 추스는 된가 까와제고 요래 까블제고 요래 다 대답 까블제야 될 때는 배 소남 침보래 생활하면서 되니 야 담보 되게 하는 와
So today, something is the sound. I can hear myself. There's anything we can do. Can you hear me okay?
거도
Okay. I forget maybe you can turn off myself. So first of all, thank you. For all Dharma friends, I'm Dashi Delegate again. So today is our fourth day of the Amitabha 100 Million Mantra Recitation Retreat. And again, we should remind ourselves of our great fortune, and because we have gained a precious human body and we are using it for something very meaningful. So we often talk about a meaningful human life. And what that means is that if you are able to benefit others, then your life becomes meaningful, then it has real purpose. So by joining this retreat and all of us practicing together, we as Dharma friends are creating much virtue together and an incredible amount of merit. And essentially, if you are able to accumulate such merit, then your precious human life has actually become meaningful. And so normally everyone is quite busy. There's really no end to the things we have to do in samsara. But once you are finished with one task, another task begins. And even if sometimes there's nothing to do, the mind always has something to do. In your mind, you always start thinking about all kinds of things. So we never really seem to have time. And we never seem to have enough time to practice the Dharma. And that's also related to our merit, actually. If we have no opportunity to practice the Dharma, it also shows a lack of merit. So anyways, now we have the opportunity to practice together and we need to recognize it. Milarepa had said that if you endure hardship for the sake of the Dharma, you create a boundless and measureless amount of merit. And all those who support and encourage merit, those who are very kind, the supporters, they also accumulate immeasurable amounts of merit. So for example, when Dharma friends encourage each other and support each other in the practice, that's an incredible merit. And of course, it also means enduring hardships. We need to bear some hardships for the Dharma. For example, it may mean getting up very early in the morning and then sitting all day long without moving around much. And that's, of course, not easy, but the merit is really incredible. And so normally, what kind of merit, what kind of hardships do we endure in our ordinary life? So normally we endure other hardships too, but they're all the causes of samsara, the causes of suffering. So you get up in the morning, you go to work, and then at work you encounter different situations that trigger your fear, your competitiveness, or some hopes and expectations. So you're constantly engaged in various thoughts and emotions, and all these activities that you constantly engage in are just like rain falling down without end. And even though all of that is a hardship, we do it anyways, even though it is a cause of suffering in samsara. But of course, since we are already born here in samsara, we have no choice but to do those things. We have to do them. But at the same time, we should also recognize it for what it really is, that it is the cause of suffering. And so now that we are able to enter this mandala of the Buddha Amitabha and practice the 100 million recitation retreat, from the time you're getting up early until you go to sleep, of course, you are enduring some hardships, but and moreover, you're not actually getting anything for it. So no one like pays you for that, but you're accumulating a lot of merit, and therefore it's very significant. And because you are enduring hardships for the purpose of the Dharma, the merit becomes great. So,
Anytime, Maran so tini sumnam gita chudru yakin tunjin sanja yang zubo ngaragi chu chadu de nara chu chala de ina yang ngarang chi chazo gulyo ta liglo nro tang tini nyo mumba te kadu na nyo mumba te shuk chimbo yoro wasi ngarang tsamala nyo mumba shuk chimbo wasi tini chi lo lu nga isim chik de drum harabichi nga isim chik de drum tini chuli pa lo te matabichi lu chudada de jang tene yang pe ni ko de ya sem yin yol de sro de yang song tene tende jong song ya ne pe jong gu chen bo was pe jong chen bo 가르스나 나나서 따빠르는 거 거가 요 말아 봤어 라기 설라야 따빠르 거감들 요 말이 제한지도 추좀 추 코나를 빼 두수 땅에 되네 두약은 튼지도 뉴뉴인데 너 따면 튼지되네 되네 빼 니코만 돼 봐. 그러와 나랑 빼 힘적스네지 로르가 있으면 찍도 되는 저 밤에 냠는 지기도 있는데 나랑 다다 되는 냠는 제빼 기침 버렸어. 따바 고갑이 얼마나 되는 아니 구야라고 당양 샘스로를 영대 봐. 근데 제 양만의 직계장으로 해드리 되나 근데 또 빼랑 잉 고갑도 빼 고갑 침 고갑 빼 짜침보다 되냐 그 동미 반전으로 열어 근데 많이 배치 테스팅 나랑 스스 구구세지 스스 구구세네 당한데 고갑 장보리 되는 가 많이 배치네 내 인지미 나랑 뜻수 칭한 될 주요는 뜻수 등은 내 파트 땅배 내 까뱅은 자기 인삼 나랑 지 담자세 배 근데 지도 빼 기침보여래서 배는 로지시요 누마리 누마 급주 국성로라 급주 국성로라 와라나스는 로온까지 모남초 모남 탱담보리 대대 같이는 뭐지 탱담보 와라나스를 펩시 다라 장구를 뭐지 코나바니 우글리존에 로온까지 모남 탱담보서 된 저도 갑라 되는 마에 때도 아보 번이만 가서 요래 럼보차 근데 모남 좋은데 생각지는 뭐지 그 노는 정도로 와 맞죠 마 잡로 연 자하면 빨 잡로 되거로 와 데데 근데 배 세바침도 와 맞죠 보는 용으로 와 세바침 세바침도 니코도 와 니코도 근데 니코도 되네 다들 되 니마저를 뭐지 가시는 뭐지 엔더서 니코만 도서 눈에 거는 그렇게 지겨만 가서 때 맞잡로들이 가르치는 거는 통통도 빼 망보로 와 근데 공 간이제 공나 하모는 이 코만도 너다고 고갑다고 요 말다스 고갑자 침보 내자 침보 근데 너다는데 내가 혼이제 gen도만 보 장군을 무지 올려줘 근데 너다보다 몰람 소야 까와정보 따버리 용거요 말되는데 배자 침보를 이 코만도서 서서지더니 몰람데 농거를 해서 말때도 송용 그러봐 근데 배티나 이게 나서 제 아무데가 돈좀 힘파 쌓아야는데 다 로고만 팀만 찍으려 너다만 나서 지 게와데 드립 시보로 나서 제 뭐자 본념남데 게와데 제 아무데와 돈럽다 마나 돈럽다 레라오 드립 시바칠 돈 침보 피용 침보 스납 침보로 와 드니 너다부터니 두수들지 chudale lu chudal de jan chi nyomu ba ni ko ya ta tene ke ja hi ya la so ba tene sem sro de yin wa tene nam dong ning pa che go ka ji na yin chi go che ta ra ngang so sem dal dan ji nyomu de de to so ya tin shi ge tene nga so che ge lo lo ka che ko to ji go ya pe ki chim bu cha ga ta te ta che lo nga yisum chi de de ne nga ge nyam ni si ta na tene ngone ta tu su de 당 되는 더 따부터 고갑데 오늘 가바딘 바트네 차가 요래서 되는데 대러러지는 힘 바사야 돼 내가 침벌이다 갈수 있는 룰라르고 나하 샘띵인지 콜랑아띵인지 상하고 좋아냐니 가른 드레스나 디든 로거 대따부터 만들지 샘이 영마 되었지 어러지는 싸고에 되게 침번도
Can somebody turn up Rinpoche's voice a little bit? I think it's a bit quiet on the Zoom. Thank you. So, and so now, it's hard to have all the favorable conditions together to practice the Dharma. And so even though we have those conditions together, like for example, we are here in the Amitabha recitation retreat, even though we are in the Dharma setting, still sometimes we still become overwhelmed by our afflictions because we are lazy often and often very afflicted anyways. And then we find it hard to really focus our body, speech, and mind together and bring it all together into one and focus on the Dharma that we are here for. And so then often, even though we are physically present, we might not be totally focused. We might be getting sleepy or we let the mind wander outside. And that is actually a huge loss because opportunities like this don't come around very often in our life. It's very hard to always have the favorable conditions for Dharma practice. And so now that we have them, if we spend that time sleeping or letting the mind drift away, or we just spend a lot of time just chatting with each other, then this precious opportunity becomes wasted. So it's important to always examine yourself and ask yourself, am I actually practicing Amitabha right now, even though I'm here? Because this opportunity doesn't always come. So you have to really kind of lift yourself up. You have to kind of put your get yourself up and make the best use of the precious time that you have, and that's very important. There's one story that comes to mind. A long time ago in 1993, in Varanasi, there was the first Jigong Kagi Mönlam held there. And during that Mönlam, His Eminence Gacho Rinpoche, he attended, and also both holinesses, both Jigong Gyamgen holinesses were also both there. They were presiding over the Mönlam. And of course, there were many monks and nuns. There were a lot of people there. And so it was in Varanasi in India. And so we came there. Abu Lama actually was also there. And I was there, and Rinpoche was there. And it was very hot there, and especially for us because we had just come from Tibet. And so we were a little bit suppressed by the heat and started to get a little bit sleepy. But there were masses of people, and we were sitting somewhere in between in the back. So it was hard to really see where anybody was because there were so many people. But anyways, we started to get a little bit sleepy and dozing off a little bit. And Rinpoche, Gacho Rinpoche was sitting somewhere like in front, and there was no way that he could actually see us there. But then he said to me that don't sleep because actually he doesn't. I was wondering about how he could, how he would know, because I knew that he couldn't see us from where he was sitting. There was no way he would actually physically see us. And there were also too many people, but somehow he knew that we were sleeping there. drifting off a little bit. And he said that opportunities like this don't always come, especially with His Holinesses here. And then all of us practicing the Mönlam in such a precious time. You can't waste that time by sleeping. So pull yourself together and do the recitation and don't fall asleep. And also, the same is for us here now. We are doing the Amitabha recitation retreat once a year, and we also do like the Mani retreat. And but if you understand the benefits of that, then it will come much easier to actually get yourself up and actually do the practice to pull yourself together. Because you understand, you can see the great benefit and blessings and the merit that can be created here. And so, on the other hand, even if you are in a Dharma setting, if you are carried away by, if you are controlled by all these thoughts in your mind, all these afflicted thoughts and distractions, and you're starting to get sleepy and unclear, and just have all kinds of negative thoughts. And that's just what we do. We are ordinary, and we just have all kinds of negative thoughts all the time because of the self-grasping in our mind. And so because that is where we tend to kind of gravitate toward, it's important that you intentionally pull yourself together and say that I'm going to do the best I can do to turn my mind toward virtue. And so then when your body, speech, and mind are together, then you actually have made a good use of this opportunity. And that's a great fortune. And then you're actually practicing. So I just encourage you to, when you recite the mantra, to do it as best as you can. You just give your best when you're doing it. And so normally, especially now when we practice the Vajrayana, we said that we say ideally we visualize the form of the deity and all sounds as the mantra, and the mind is always in a state of meditative concentration or samadhi. So these are necessary qualities in the practice of the secret mantra. And it's so if they're not accomplished, then also the practice is incomplete. And so that's why it's important to pay attention to that.
야, 다들은 값을 봐봐 말한서 람초린 친청아 가짱아 간자게 좀 라마담카마노와 시그스 다들은 값을 봐봐라 드니 잡책데 히랍단 대파 히랍다 대파 닌틴저 라마담베 투공 롱바헤 그스 다랑아서 그비 추천아 임바세.
So coming back to our text, we are at the 10 necessary things. And so yesterday we spoke about verse number 3. So we spoke about how to select unmistakenly a lama. And now we come to verse number 4, and that says you need to assimilate the Sublime Master's realization with discriminating knowledge and persistent devotion.
히랍당 대파스 당하는 직딩게 사와 간르 드브제 추드나리 직디 드브나리 히랍도 고레스 라마 투공 농거나 라마 투공 농거나 담봉안 게 줄을 대파스 거 당원 대반도 대파 이치히 대파 당원 대파스 라마 거송 투고 용티 탐질 빼 나랑 지생원나 라만 소소 잡을 라마 게베히니 pe yung ti sanji ma chabari sam teni tela tangwachi rawa teni ndupa tepa se te o lama ke tukju le yu depe rawa lama ke tukju le yu depe ti yung ti de rang la topan dupa lo rawa nga na su ta lama teni nga su namju sinlap she se yuwa dan do dira lama ke tukju ke yung ti sanji ma chabari ten nga ke ju le tso tobya te lama ke tukju yung ti sanji ma chabari tso kare togur se na ngarang la tara nyo mongpa danzi chimbo che yorwa danzi de ge nimpo danzi de ge nimpo danzi de ma chon tmi ge nimpo ta pe lama ge ti de minga de so ngal top go de yung ti de ma top to tel top nu lo tel tenen du pe te pas yi chi shi chi te pas yi chi ge te pa pe ge chi mo cha ga nga so tara nam bu chu na yi chi ge lama ge yung ti concho sum da ne concho kundi chi zabul lama pe yung ti sang chi ma cha pa re sam tene lowa mi pa chen du sin ni la lowa mi pa re sam de da we chi go res ngaran to pe na chokbo chomon de yin chi chi le yi chi mi cha de ten chi chi le pe le ka nyam de le ya le kable khapo do wa pe ne yi chi sen de pe cha ya na chirang ke bank card nguang ke card chirang ke chala ki chi ki chirang chokbo la le yak ma ba yak ma do wa kare jini yak yo ma le ta to ba yo re yang pe ya de la ndo re sam ro wa de na ta yi chi mi se de yong go ma do wa tarang ngang ke lama give hin chi ba chi chang lama give hin de yi chi go re yi chi me na ga ti tu yo go yong de len tu go ma ta 다 따라 나 이베 나랑 그 대바 요번 남바데 지팅 얘나야 샘드네 이 치시지 대바 미쳐도 되네 투규기 용되는 알레 투고요 말해서 되네 이 치기지 대바데 하장 기침보에서 이 치바스 발때 담보 가장 가서 힘 바스 라마 게비히니 담보는 하나 라마 지금 잡았잖지 벨로 릉아 있으면 치는 잡슨 저 라고 말해 알아 다힌 치 되네 배 나랑 고야 기치 럽종 나랑 고야 기치 빠는 그 랑가 띵 투부도에 만도 되네 따야 지네 되네 지슨랑 거레스 가서 건지요 지슨랑 사도 다 이치로 이치기지 대바 대 인지민지 거스 이치기지 대바면은 되네 배 라마가 투주고스 남데 투주고 용대 등 하나 토고면도 말한테 송진하는 송을 가르치는 라만 케바달라 다드 팀버사 줍스시는 케버 용된 텔란조스 라마에 길라 가르치는 가게 대바스미 건 띵거 짐치 라마 베 투줄로 용된 할 대톱거 대톱고 버스는 되는 띵거 여러 봐시 되는데 대바 지급 짐치 더서 용거요 다 대바의 히랍고도 히랍다 대바 센도 대바 지급은 저거면도 히랍고도 라마 그 투규 나랑 그 대바스 유장 나랑 그 라마 그 투기 라마 통 그거 로 라마 그 투저 벤 먼저에는 안 직 족보 차나 족보 로크야 그 자야를 빼 저도걸 탑시 고도 탑시 진의 족보 약보 차거도 락산 남다 같은 탑시 진으로 빼띠나이 라마글라 통 거나더니 라마 그 투주게 된 요대등 알아 토고요레스 배나 말라레바 코로나 게 비와냐 요 말. 로 얘나야 말팔로서기 주숨 주거다. 가리 진짜 야죽스는 야노그 마죽스는 마죽스. 내가 지시는 내가 지으리 냠린 치시는 냠린 치시. 짐치 덴디젤 때는 라마 말파 통거리다. 코랑원에 로마 체드딘바 로마 누딘바 하고네. 되니 말라레 말팔로서기다. 투주기 미가 거기 강시대 바테 탐지되는 말라레 번낭 와시 티 미가 참아 가르치나리 말라레 박 말팔 고야 찹상치였다 텔레티네 말파 통거다 통거네 된데 로마 누딘이 예산되니 되더니 티 미가 찹상나 되는데 라마 게비히니 되는데 데 시랍다 대바 닌틴 라마 담부 투공 롱바스 라마 툭 제와 등 알아 톱탑 라마게다 온더 로마야 보리 디 로마들은 예치 취를 해야는 냠린 지그리 로와 디 심진의 핑그리 디 냠린 지그리 이상에 대답은 건데 라마 툭니 텔레드린 티 팀이가 도구 요소레스
And so now, so we need to assimilate the lamas or the master's realization. And so For our Dharma practice, and we need to do that with discriminating knowledge or with wisdom and also with devotion. So whatever we do, whether it is a worldly thing we do or it is a Dharma practice, whatever we try to accomplish, we need to have some wisdom. And now here, we want to realize the Lama's wisdom, the Lama's enlightened mind. And for that, we need discriminating knowledge, and we also need to have faith. And there are three kinds of faith. There is the clear faith, the aspiring or like longing faith, and the trusting faith. And so, if we want to receive the qualities of the guru, we need to cultivate faith. And so faith here begins with the clear faith. That is, you are inspired by the guru because you see that, like the root gurus, you see his qualities of enlightened body, speech, and mind. And so first we need to be inspired by that. And we see the incredible qualities of the guru. And then after that, once this kind of devotion begins to rise, then we develop the aspiring or longing faith. And so this is then where you want to, first you see the qualities, and now you want to gain those qualities yourself. You also want to have those qualities. And so that is why we often speak about, I want to receive the Lama's blessings. We want to receive the blessings because we want that Lama's qualities. So that is the really following then the guru and receiving the guru's blessings. And then doing what the guru tells us to do is the antidote to self-grasping. And so to receive that, to receive these instructions, we recognize that first, and then we want to receive the instructions in order to assimilate the same qualities. So that is the aspiring faith. And then there is the trusting faith. And this is especially important in Buddhism, in the Buddhist practice. It's very important that we see the guru as the embodiment of all the jewels, and to know that the guru is totally trustworthy and undeceiving. We can trust the guru completely. So once you saw the guru's qualities and you also want to assimilate them, then finally you come to a place where you completely trust the guru. And that's a big step, because that trust doesn't come easy. For example, you have friends, but do you really trust each other completely? And if you don't trust each other completely, it's also hard to do things together. For example, you have a bank card, like a credit card. That's like one of your most important things. So you wouldn't just hand your credit card, your bank card, to anyone. So like even a friend. So why wouldn't you give it to them? Because you're not so sure. You don't totally trust that they might not that they might lose it. So you have some concerns that even though they're your friend, you don't fully trust them. They might lose it. So it's hard to really trust. But without this trusting faith in the Lama, you cannot ever truly develop his qualities. And you may seem to have devotion, but if there is no trusting faith, no trusting devotion, then the qualities of the guru will not arise in you. So this trusting faith is essential. And as we mentioned before, yesterday, we need to select the guru properly. So often when we first meet a lama, you may say, I prostrate this body, speech, and mind. I offer you my body, speech, and mind. But there is no need to say these kind of things. So first, you should examine and you should go through some reasoning. So what do I need? I need to learn the Dharma. And now, is that someone who can do that? Is that someone who can show me what to do and what not to do? And if you decide that this is the right Lama to follow, then you must also develop this trusting faith in them, because without it, the qualities will not arise in your own mind. So therefore, it is taught that you must have the three kinds of faith in that master. And why do we need to have faith? Because we need that master's qualities. So that's how we reason. And however, even though we need faith, faith alone is not enough. If faith also must come with wisdom. So even though you have all three kinds of faith, you also need to have some wisdom, some intelligence, and so with some intelligence, then you know how to relate to that guru. For example, if there are two people who are becoming friends, then you need to know what to do to actually become that person's friend, how to relate to that person, so you become good friends. And so essentially the way you should relate to become friends is by having a completely pure intention, by having a pure motives. And so it's similar when it comes to wanting to gain the Lama's qualities. For example, Milarepa, he didn't have anything to offer to Marpa, but he did everything Marpa told him to do. If Marpa said go here, he went there, and if he said go there, he went there. He followed every instruction he received from Marpa, and because of that, Marpa recognized that Milarepa was truly a qualified guru, and he saw him as the proper vessel for receiving his instructions, his teachings. And because of that, Marpa then gave him all the instructions that he held in his own mind, because he knew that this student was ready to receive these instructions. So this is now what the Lama thinks when he sees a qualified disciple. So he thinks that this is a good disciple. If I teach that disciples, then they will practice and they will bring benefit to sentient beings. And so therefore it's beneficial to give them the teachings. So.
Trimpa tang Shi Yin Ji Bayu tang Dimbe Gosum Nichung Ji Maguba Shi Gus de Zab Sirian. Sasid Chamala Jana. Kebila.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So could you? Okay. So should I say it again, or was it clear? So the next verse you need to remain untainted by faults in thought, word, and deed through being mindful, conscientious, and careful.
tenshi mina ngana to chitan jikti sawa dhubna ko tenshi godwa lega kare ina chi me chala lega lego de tenshi mina tene kanjo manjo chiya mdwa kanjo manjo chen chupa shoridwa tene yang lega dhub tu mdwa tene tenshi tene lega chi godwa tene tambe chu dhubna ta yinji miji ta tenshi de ko zori da 다른 거는 딕바 빵 톱 뭐톱 야나 기와 톱 참아 그 진시된 레와요 진시대 야보미나 뱅하나 치 기와 죽고 사나야 기와 죽고 사나야 코 칼레 코 먹게 왕도 노도 가르치는 거는 주를 따라 먹게 받 흉침 보여로 대제대 코디 먹게 왕도 대대서는 되는 아주 진시대 양스 띵거 진시대 배나 가나서 따라 주보 추달래 되나야 나랑 치 서직 딱 답지시 저 나랑 거네 르고고네 배 나랑 배 가르치기도 나고는 나랑 힘파트 답본도 희도에 노큰도에 자 답본도 특도에 이지고는 나게 셈라더니 뇽문 보완데 로도에 야나 나셈 마행 버지네 내 마행 버고니 되는 배 다른 냠는 치기도 대나가 딱시고래스 대 따지데 가래 진시 시락 시바 대된 로래스 대미나더니야 맞아 지 따라 주도 죽지니 고도데 주도 죽니 생산다 계속 가르진 로 대하마 왔더니 차거다 대 가르쳐 셈잉로 셈잉이야 된 삼사고를 열지를 영 삼로 땅 하나 그 삼로 땅에 영거리 삼사고 가르진 셈데 서로를 연수하마 오지네요 들리지는 영거요래스 대대더니 진시도 인지미지 고래서
And so here, so it says that we need to be mindful and conscientious and careful. This verse is speaking about the importance of mindfulness, and that's always important, no matter what you do, even if you are engaging in a mundane activity or if it's a dharma activity. Mindfulness is always essential, and also whether or not you are able to abandon non-virtue and practice virtue, it also depends on your mindfulness, because if you are unmindful, even if you want to practice virtue, you will still slowly slip into non-virtue, because just we have a natural tendency toward being afflicted in our mind. That's why it's important to always examine yourself. What am I actually doing? What am I doing with my body or my speech? Am I reciting the mantra clearly and flawlessly? What is happening in my mind? Is my mind under the power of the afflictions? Am I distracted? You always have to examine yourself, check yourself in this way. And be mindful. This is how we apply mindfulness, or discriminating awareness or wisdom. And so, for example, we start at 11 a.m. and then suddenly it's already 12, and we wonder, where did the time go? Time just flew by. And why do we perceive it that way? It's because we are distracted. We are so caught up and distracted that we don't notice the passing of time. And so it's because we don't even know exactly what we were distracted by and where the mind was going to. And then we come back and all the time is gone, and we don't even know what has actually happened during that time. And so therefore it's really important that mindfulness is really essential.
따라 바유 단딘베 고슴 니중지 쯤에 막기베선도 바유스 진시 바유유나 드는 거나라이 고게발로 가디네 기베나나 데데다 고슴지 류가 있음게 진시 미나 드니 콜류가 있음 참참 먹게발은 저거 요래 데데 진시데 인지민지 송거래스 다른 거나 수치 돈바 담체 대송아도 송톱마톱대야 그 진시된 레와 쉬워요 되는 진시 띵보 미나 되는 삼장하는 소때 답에 되는 니중 동아도서 포기열해서 되는데 진시대 배 산지 치료는 다 진시대 거 내가 치시 차고요 내가 치시 다르디 딩시 요나 치랑게 라파 참마 송 투고요레스 돈바 탐세 참마 송 투고요레스 딩시데 띵보미나 드니도서 참세 드니 안서 돈바파 탐세도서 드니 양 탐세도서 양 중쇼야 드니 연구요레서 대참 딩시든 제가 요레스 따라 중중는 송요레 딩시 요나스 대대 다게 샘드네 대대 다게 샘드네 릭송 릭파송아사 세 샘소도 요마도 바도 요망부 지히사송 들으송을 샘드 송데 바이나 디나나 dom바탐사 참마 누구 요레스 데니 텔레로스 제바치 나나 남주 게바 디바방스 망보 panza 드브자 망보 연구도 데니 따라 냠니시 인디 데니 샘고 데니 아게 샘데 딱바 샘송 세데 진시지라고다 샘송 세데 샘데 따라 가레제 송을 샘데 뇨문바 남도 제 연구도에 대송고다 데니 뇨문바 남도 제 영화이나 대 하고는 데니 남상하게 데 뇨문바왕도 마쇼지게 여러분 데라 샘송세 데이터베 샘송 트리오마도 트리오망부 체히사스 데라 로스 체베데는 가서 고문도스 데랑 데는 냠내제나 데는 저거 요래서 중중은 자세 쇼하라게 된 송도세
And so now so there's this term here, mindfulness and conscientiousness in our root verse. So or heedfulness and mindfulness. So if you have that, if you have mindfulness, then your mind will always naturally turn toward virtue. And you will be able to keep your vows and your samayas. But if you're unmindful, without mindfulness, then sometimes, even if you think of practicing virtue, sometimes the mind just naturally becomes non-virtuous. So mindfulness is something you always have to hold on to. And whether or not you can keep your vows and your samayas is directly connected to whether or not you have mindfulness. If you do not have much mindfulness, then you may sometimes break your vows without actually even noticing much. So in the Dharma, actually in Dharma practice, mindfulness is one of the biggest and most important key points. If you have mindfulness, you can keep all your vows and your samayas, all your different precepts and trainings. But if your mindfulness is unstable, then some of your vows and samayas will become faulty because it's all connected to your mindfulness. Shantideva said in the Bodhicharya Vatara, he said that it is due to the fault of lacking mindful awareness, that you fall into confusion and error. So when your mindfulness lapses, then you fall prey to confusion and error. And so if you are mindful, then you will abandon many non-virtuous actions and accomplish virtue, and you keep your vows. And that is why we always hear that we always say you have to guard your mindfulness. And so how do you guard your mindfulness? When it is through being alert and watchful, and always seeing whether or not afflicted thoughts arise. And if afflicted thoughts arise, because you're already watchful, you recognize them immediately and you don't allow them to take full control of you. So that's what Shantideva is saying in this verse in the Bodhicharya Vatara. That is essentially all you need. So you need mindfulness, and that alone is really all that you need to practice. Then verse number 6, you need to keep your resolve steady and unwavering with the armor of fortitude.
고차 스나 남중 안에서 고차 센데 배나 쟁만데 hum마다른 나도 저도 이용의 주볼은 손각기지 여러 공야지도 되는 것을 고차라고도 비대다 다른 안에서 종류는 종류 고치 종류 있어야지 가장 가서 로송 종류 쓰면 고치 종류 어때라고 대 고치 종류 고치 종류에서 고차도 되게 난동 주볼 전마저 말아보지 송구도 어때 간도 비대다 되니 종류 고치 종류 되게 되니 나게 개와 진요무바 좀 간리지 연구 요나야 대왕도 마효치 진시다 바요바도 솔을 때는 뇽무바가 저랑 저 뇽무바 샘도 왕겨 말아보지 그러와 샘도 뇽무바 샘 다른 고추 준비 될 때는 뇽무바가 저 왕도 겨 말아보지 뇽무바 샘 왕도 겨 말아보지 샘도 가라래 샘도는 닝떡으로 닝떡 지이 띵징스 심지어 돈 주고 삼바 심지어 핀바 주고 삼바 다 닝떡지 여러 닝게 톱세야 되는 거라서 산초 샘바 세야 돼 집어치자 닝세야 돼 샘을 거로 톱스는 누바 빼대다 버티니 산초 샘바 심지어 돈 줍 삼바티니 티 닝떡대 빼 담자 띵보치 거르시 담자 띵행스 대답 담자 띵행 되니 촉트바케 시고스 대답 버티니 담자대 당 닝떡대 닝톱때 다 띵보네 톱다 맞톱때 다른 고쳐 좋은데 다라래 가르치는 거는 좀 뇽문바 망보 지요랑 셈라 뇽문바 망보 지요 저도 근데 텔레티는 서로가 찜 보치려면 그렇다 뇽문바가 쪽 뇽문바 뇽문 배는 뇽문지야게 조 뇽문그 쪽 배는 해당지야 그러 나를 해당 요로 해당지야게 열망 볼래요 그래 나랑 주된 차도 요로 차도 지역이 열을 때는요. 열때가 차도 지역으로 빠치거든. 차도 지역. 배디나 열을 때는 노차지야. 대답다 뇽문바 도심 지역 같더니 열다 열진도 설 때는 그래서 야 니바데 영축조였다. 그래서 야 니바 영축조. 대저도 대임버스나 다르디 고추종류 바유바당 고추종류 도설 때네 되니 닝톱스는 게 담자지요 잡아 담자지 심지어 돈 주고 삼바 야마나 라니게 딕바 방고 게와 주고 삼바 담자 팀보 야마나 게 돈바 담세 팀보 종고 삼바 대답 닝톱데 되니 팀바 네 타퍼시발레 되니 티 고차데 고레스 바유도 고차 종류 저 고차 그래서 되니 이바도 고레스 촉트바히 띵게 촉트바히 그스 너나 진 먹여와 진다 간디진 최바이나양 진 먹여 왕도 마성와 되는 게 개와데 로자 팀비 되는 게 개와 줘야 되더니 되는 개와데 간택주 통에 대랑 주인세요 저 자와다 된다고 진사래요
This is about sorry, the the armor of fortitude, and so armor here it refers to something that you put on yourself to protect yourself. Like in the old days, soldiers, the knights, they wore a certain kind of a body armor to protect themselves from weapons like arrows and spears. And also yesterday we mentioned the armor like diligence, and we don the armor of diligence to block any harm from coming at us and injuring us. So we are protecting ourselves, we're shielding ourselves from any negative influence. And so if you wear the armor of diligence, then when faults or afflictive emotions arise, you will not become controlled by them. And that is because you are mindful and careful, and so the afflictions can't take complete control of the mind. And if the afflictions cannot take control of your mind, then the mind has what we call a courage. Here, this is called the steady resolve. So then you have a courage, a determination, a determined mind. So you, with determination, you think that I'm going to accomplish the benefit of sentient beings, no matter what. So you're determined that this is what I will do. And that's actually the real meaning of a bodhisattva. So the bodhi also refers to that kind of that mind, and then the sattva is this the kind of that being, the ability. So they have this strength of mind, this determination, which is like a firm commitment towards sentient beings, and so. Whether or not this determination remains stable depends on whether or not you have the armor of diligence. And so, why is that? It's because there are many afflictive emotions always arising and within us, and there are many external conditions, situations that we constantly encounter and that trigger our own affliction. So, for example, I have anger in my mind, so I will meet people or situations that trigger my anger. Or I have jealousy in my mind, and so I may encounter conditions that trigger my jealousy. Or I have desire in my mind, and therefore I will encounter circumstances that I will feed my desire. So it comes up. So this encountering of the subject with the object, like us meeting different situations, has great control over us. And that's why the armor of diligence, which essentially is mindfulness and carefulness, that is essential to not become triggered by these various situations that we will encounter. And if you are mindful and careful, if you don this armor of being diligently mindful, then, as we said, that is connected to your determination. Then you will have inner courage, a determination to benefit beings, to abandon non-virtue, to practice virtue, to keep your vows and your samayas pure. So all of that resolve will remain strong. And so for that to remain with stability, you need the armor like diligence and mindfulness. You need to have them together. And so then in brief, that we need to ensure that when encountering certain conditions, uh, that could trigger non-virtue, that we do not fall under their power, but that we are able to stay steady with the mind focused on our practice of virtue. And so this is something that we have to do as much as we can. So this alone is the practice that need to be done.
Chami himi je jube nata mula mahyoshi gus.
The next, number 7, you need to be unattached and free from clinging so as to avoid letting the rope to your nose slip into the hands of others.
Tate zo ngaran chunyamni sini lehiga chunyamni sini ngone chupayanda chigona ngone chula tungore se terita namju ngaran so kansala medo chula to tandon medo ngidon to tanda sungu yorwas tende tan dordin chu konal tene ma de men yimba sechilanga de wang de lugumens dambe chu kona kare songwaina dina yijin nyamni chi jinin rugu yinse ta donda te tungu yusares chami himi chami se chakpa nga so na nambu da soso ge je chakpa che sak yoyoro pena lamanda na lomang ko lomju yang pam je lomanda na soso ge je pama ponchi nyereng chaksa ge yon ram de yoro ndordina 대 탐지 착바스 착바 미바스 말아서 자세라리는 지송요 가르스네 파야봉 자세라니 있어야지 요한테 롱리데 징에도에 계저치나 지나드나 너는 더 솔을 뛰네 단 너는 나그 착바제사 나그 조보 조모 타니오 야나 소속 파마 본지 하짱 소속 제와 침부 요든죠 드니 더 솔을 뛰네 드니 랑그 출주야라 배 중침모자가 드츠 광는 로로라 드츠 치드 드니 배 나랑게 지 라왕도 현로 대다 탐지 지 야보용 탑르더니 대다 탐지 드니 오송야 대다 탐지 치드 드니 사와드므로라 그래서 나 착바여로 드니 진드고 말스 차미 있어 착바 미빵네 차미 힘이란도 차미 힘이 착바의 힘바 미부고네 요노롬줄의 힘바 미부고네 차미 힘이 주베스는 소소 남주 사와 드버캅라 알아 소소 남주 사퓨 깝라 드니 나타 멀마 효게 나타스나 라왕 라고다 랑가 완차데 다 추발 해거도 추주미나 오늘 추바 체딘라 추주미 양다바 벤나 말아레 바타웨이네 드니 나타 멀마 효게네 드니 멋세데 멋시지라 마텐 드니 코나 추코나 좀 데르바 대타오지 나타 멀마 효게 고스 나타 멀 효송아이나 드니 머드 뚱고도 드니 베 랑게 체 게와 드비알라 드니 양 드스테스지 답에 주로 약보이나 핀도 요로한 주로 약보면은 드니 양 드니 양 게와 드비알라 드니 데 파체는 준도고요 대다 탐지 파 빠자인 바다랑 알아서 자세라는 셰게 요와스 저당 알아서 산조 셈냠네 시디 참마 tum 얘는 tum보고네 사와 두고 송고여와 되니 가래이나서 저당 아게 핀심고 로드 고 핀심고 로드 유니존데 되니 게와 드벨라 쭈션로나 되니 된지고 미 바하고고와 게버 파르첼은 졸을 뛰는 게버 파르첼은 줄고요나 되니 조기 올라 따야바이나 되니 조되기 되니 먹게벌레 사이 대양 저도걸로 너드는 추바쟁원에 되니 거 신차의 빵에 되니 게와 조고서 뜻은 거 참이 힘이세 베나더라 라만라지나 라마 이나야 로모 야 로마가 뭐다 야 진다가 뭐도 소 현로 참 로마겐도 빠듯도 진다겐도 빠듯 던지지 양 아게 추줄란 추더 냠네 지야 되네 게벨레도 양 참스 뜻은 올 현로 던지 올 현소는 되네 양 추바양다 차고 요사 말이 되니 참이 힘이 있네 다들 나타 말마 효세서디 되니 추드미원이 되니 말드니 추드 많던바 있나 추드 많던바 왕라 거야 요 말이 소야 되송도 제주 말아레베 가르송도 세나 나타 말세네 오송 퉁죽스비 추반 나면 도 송도 가르송에서 나타스는 나랑 추바 임바 강시라 나랑 그 완차치 나랑 그 니빠치 가래요는 되니 때 참마 멍오소야 치트 먹게 말라벤 참 도보치야 먹게 배 약볼 라비야 뭐든 퉁보야 치트 되니 나가 파텔 파땅로 저 참마 파땅 오송 퉁죽란도 오송 퉁죽스비 대다의 추바데 남에 누보리스다 추바 세디 말이라고 다 강이 휴이 요르세 던지 되는 거네 추바 양다 yana 던지 지야요 말해서 지난 말 삼바 마테 제와 마테라 위요 말이야 되는 데 힘바다 잡고네 되는 먹은 거송야 지에게는 되는 뺀 논도 그래서 다 돈다 드리 인사래 뺀는 거 따라 김포 딘zen 가장 가서 휴인 받다라 로주는 노아 김포 딘zen 잠보스 다콩 빼마실리다 모든 tunjo 짜만 있는 거 맞다. 코레 bomba 가래요나. 코나 가래서나 들어가라는 지골마도 될 짐신은 되게 강시해서요 말. 다 너나 코나 맞set들 코나 추코나 좀니 던지지 여르스탄 너드는 추바양다고는 대답이지. 지고요사래서. 야 또반 통보 차트나 로컬이야 돼요. 산조 생그 땡 톱스나 산조 생 냠네스 산조 생그 땡 톱스나 yin 열라 힘바야미 차바야미 근데 뇽무보한테 짜만이는 이렇게 미나 되는 저거요. 대마도 가나서 다른 뇽무바 유처리 되는 배 이왕도 뇽무보한테 촌도 걸어 봐. 대스는 되니 참이 힘이 거네 되니 다배 개와코나 저거야. 어떤 데서 거기서 해서
So we need to be unattached and free from clinging, so as to avoid letting the rope of the nose slip to the hands of others. So what this nose rope here refers to? Um, so first of all, this verse is addressed to a real authentic Dharma practitioner now, and so it is said in general that. Um, uh, so don't rely on a real practitioner doesn't rely on any person, but they only rely on the Dharma. And they don't rely on the provisional meaning, but they rely on the definitive meaning. They don't follow anything else, but they only follow what the Dharma teaches, essentially. And so it says here you need to be unattached and free from clinging. So, for example, for a lama, that may mean to be unattached to their following or wealth or benefactors and so on. For a disciple, that may mean not being attached to family, parents, friends, and loved ones, and so on. There's all kinds of things that we can be attached to. So we need to avoid attachment. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it speaks about abandoning one's homeland. So it says that the attachment to loved ones and friends, wavers like water, and the hatred toward enemies burns like fire, and the delusion of darkness obscures what to adopt and what to discard. Therefore, it is the practice of a bodhisattva to leave behind one's homeland. And so, essentially, what happens when we are attached to family and friends is that we also spend a lot of time. So we're dedicating a lot of time for them, for looking after them, and paying, giving them attention and so forth. And so by doing that, by giving that to them, we are actually essentially giving away our nose rope. So we are giving away our autonomy or freedom to them. So therefore, the instruction here is don't be attached to anything. Don't let anything influence you. So the nose rope here, and that is your autonomy. And so you need to hold your own nose rope and don't give it to anybody else. And so again, these are instructions for a real Dharma practitioner, like Milarepa, for example, someone completely and only focused on the Dharma. And they are not at all relying on anyone else, on anything else. All they rely on is just the Dharma. They do not give their nose rope to others. So of course, if you have a good supportive Dharma friends, then that is fine. But you never want to become totally dependent on someone, because that dependency can turn into an obstacle and hindrance for your practice. So this verse here is about about what we should abandon here. We should abandon attachment. We need an independent mind that strives only to benefit others. And so if you lose that, then to attachment to people, then that becomes an obstacle to your practice. And then you will end up creating non-virtue under their influence. So a real practitioner must give up the attachment, the dependency on anyone else, so that their virtue can grow. And so that is for both lamas and disciples. For example, often a lama also loses their independence if they have to follow the wishes. For example, if they have to do what the donor tells them to do, or what the disciples want them to do, and so on. And also sometimes that is very time consuming, and then that kind of takes away some of that practitioner's time. And so essentially what that means is that a real practitioner wouldn't get involved in something that is not totally in harmony with the Dharma and will not fall under the influence of that at all. And so in another verse, Milarepa also said, when a Dharma practitioner who is always out trying to please others is a practitioner that's always miserable. So I mean, we want to please everyone. We want to kind of fit with everyone's needs and wants, and we want to say yes to everything they ask of us, and we just want to do we just basically want to do only agreeable things that please others, and you end up as a miserable practitioner. And so don't misunderstand that. This is not saying that don't be kind to others. But then if that kindness also comes from some attachment or some a fear of losing the respect or not being liked by others, then it's again not true Dharma practice. So a real practitioner keeps their mind autonomous and steady without needing other people's approval at all. And they just practice out of kindness and sincerity, but not out of dependency, no, not because they need to please others or need their approval. There's this a story about Khenpo Tenzin Zangbo from the past. He was a master who would never go along with others. He could care less about pleasing others. He would basically just do whatever he thought was the right thing to do in any moment. And he did not consult with anyone, and he didn't explain himself. He didn't justify himself. He just did whatever he wanted to do, basically. And so that's really what a true practitioner does. But also keep in mind that it's a little bit different when it comes to a really high level bodhisattva, because those high level bodhisattvas, they can easier mingle with others and please others without any attachment or any kind of affliction arising in their mind. And so even if they please others and associate with them, it may look like they're doing what they want, but there's no harm in that at all. Because what we need to keep in mind is the main point, and that is, does it harm one's practice? Or in other words, do I need that for my practice? So if I still have attachments and afflictive emotions in my own mind, then I need to focus on my practice and must not fall under the influence of others. But if one is already free from those afflictions, then one doesn't have to worry about that. But if there is a possibility of becoming controlled by afflictions, then we have to focus on virtue, on the Dharma practice.
Tene tsaba tsek jepa te tene jorungi jisam je simba tado tsoni so pala tsung bashigos.
Then verse number 8, you need to constantly exert yourself in gathering the two accumulations by embracing them with the preliminary, main, and concluding stages.
Jors and Jowa simchi tambas. Jowa simchi tambala tene Dordina Jowa simchi tambas and nge treng penanga so amadewa sapoyina nge o amadewa sayande simchi tamchi ki chi de sagi samba Jowa simchi tamba simchi hiba simchi bani yindu yanda zobo sanjam do dona simchi tamchi sanje tobaso de nge gewa kare demna di chi di yin samba de je Jowa simchi tamba ngugi mimi tambas na o ngarang ta amadewa sa iba ngandel sem mayang bachine ro sem mayang bachine sem de mikpa yin de mayang bachine sem tegarang pe gewa te ko ti nyamni de tengtana de bane tini sem de nyomo be hikayo maro o de ge tini gewa ki kinji yin kinji mekba siba tini ngugi mimi tambas ya tene ji ngwa tamba se na tene rangi tara ta ame dewa nga ge nyamne se rewa nyamne se ga tinte gewa tsawa tamji simchi tamji ge chi de ma sanje ji kompa topa se de ngwa tele tene ngwa se ta tele tene ji ngwa se ta tisam de la tene pe jong ji sam se ga ta yug de na chone sokpa chi go se de wa o tare ti 초니 시바들 초들 남아니 용 그래 미케송 남 초다 미미시 초 미케송 남 초세나 나라서 무슨 게와 드비 만돈 힘바 단추반 버리긴 때 탐지 미케송 남 초세 따라 산조스니 지송나 때 지신바이나 때 미케송 남 초사 그래 되니 미미 이시 초세나 따라 가서 곰냐네 되니 사자 침보다면 냠네세 빼나 라 지름세나 고 지름 다 조름세 되니 조름세네 되니 라다라니 이스미 방안에 되는 안에서 냠네시 곰잔 되게 여러 어때다 되더니 미미 이시지 초세 대다 되니 초니 소발 좀바시 그스 단 남용 안에서 추냠네시니나 되니 대다지 고는 냠네시 고여래서 다 용주선 참고네 뒤소시라면 왔다
So here we have the preliminary. First, the preliminary practice is the perfect preparation, and that is the excellent motivation of bodhicitta. So, for example, for the Amitabha practice, you think that today I'm here to practice Amitabha for the benefit of all sentient beings, so I can accomplish their benefit. And then, first there is the bodhicitta, and then second, the main part, the perfect main part of the practice should be done without any concepts or without any distraction. So that is to think that I'm going to completely focus on the Amitabha practice. So that the afflictions cannot influence, cannot undermine my practice. So that's the essence of the main part. And then the conclusion, the excellent conclusion, is the dedication prayer at the end, where we dedicate all the roots of virtue from the Amitabha practice toward the enlightenment of all beings. And then it says, so you exert yourself in gathering the two accumulations. So the two accumulations are the conceptual accumulation of merit and the non-conceptual accumulation of wisdom. The conceptual accumulation of merit is all those activities we engage in, like making offerings and so forth. And if we do those with bodhicitta, then they become a vast merit. And then the accumulation of wisdom without concepts, that refers to meditation, like meditating on Mahamudra or practicing the deity, the generation and completion stages, and so forth. And this is the wisdom, accumulation of wisdom, and we need them both. So a practitioner needs to make effort in both the two accumulations and perfectly practicing the preliminary, main, and concluding stages.
되니 급바데 닝지 무슨 심진 제도나 로소바시 그스 책돈다데 단도드나 랑게 심진이 닝제와데 디부고는 사와 강르나 심진의 핀베 사와 드고 삼바 디삼노타 만자와치 고레세 돈다 테리노
Number 9 is you need to turn your mind toward helping other beings with loving kindness and compassion, both directly and indirectly. So this means is that you should never separate from that wish of thinking that I must benefit sentient beings. So you should never separate from the love and for others and your wish to help them.
되니 쭈바데 히랍당 고도제 추탐진 응보 당 지말 마혀와시 그스 단 도나티 가르송 오지나 나란스 추라 럽병시 거레스 투삼 검섭진네 추 럽병시네 되니 티테니 랑게 판자 가레임바 란자 가레임바 대답되니 하고버되니 되니 랑게 빵랑 지고래 소야 다 던지리야 빵랑 지벌시발라 담보테 하고고로 와서 하고와 지발라 럽병 지고래 소다 다테네 그비 추초이노 세다 그비 추초 텐데 신르바 인스트레 데트랭 안아서 다 춘사대가랑 인스
So then number 10 is you need to avoid letting phenomena stray into concrete materiality by means of discriminating knowledge and understanding. So essentially, it means that in our Dharma path, we need the three practices of hearing, reflection, and meditation. We first need to understand what to abandon, what to do and what not to do. And for that, learning is necessary. And so now we have finished those 10 points and the 10 necessary things. And I'm also, we stop the teachings here today.
Oh, translator namala kadenche. Thank you very much. Okay, page number 28.
Thank you. Thank you.
Japan kejola.
Thank you for all the translators.
Thank you.
In Japanese, Vietnam, Chinese.
Hon Chom Den Gong Bo San Je Ba Me Tse Chen Jar Se Sam Sen Pa Bo Tso Nyo Mon Ro La Tu Je Ra Gong La Da So De Jen Shen Den Jen De So Ngon Je Tu Je Tam Ja Je Shen De To Da Ma Ye Tu Je Wan Ge La Ling in da zen ko wa dong zhou ne ta da ni de 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 zo te da dong xiu zha bei jiu ge wei nan de tu le tu jie wu man zhi da song zhou wei nian gan ten ben mo dan jian lo dong chi ba ran sai xie da mi ju ge gong ba ngong ju sa sa dong zin me zhi zhang ang de xiang.
Hong, transcendent conqueror, protector, Buddha Amitabha, and noble assembly of loving bodhisattvas, compassionately look upon us afflicted beings and guide us to the pure land of Sukhavati. In accord with your past bodhicitta vows, not wavering from the sacred bond, deity with great compassion, please exhaust all negative karma and empty samsara from its depths. At this very moment, please act as our guide, as I, with intense devotion, have thus invoked the enlightened mind. Red light rays of compassion radiate from the heart of Amitabha and dissolve into the hearts of myself and all beings. Self-grasping, misconceptions, and delusion have collapsed in themselves. The state of selfless Dhammakaya is realized, and I rest in the nature of clarity and emptiness, free from grasping and elaboration.
Da nam ba gom de le zong we so nan ta ye tam ba kan to de zhou wa dong ar che wo chen wa na ba me be ne ra to ba ri xiu.
By all the limitless and sacred merits obtained through this meditation and recitation, may all beings drowning in the river of suffering attain the supreme state of Amitabha.
Chan jo sen jo Rinpoche ma je ba nan je je ba nyam ba me ba kon ne kon den pe wa shu.
Page 35. May bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, arise where it has not been, where it has arisen, may not decline, but ever increase higher and higher.
Tumba lame sanje Rinpoche, Tuba lame tamchu Rinpoche, Rinpa lame gendu Rinpoche, Jamne konjo sun lanju bambu. Karam kahe, enjoy your lunch.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So now we'll go for a lunch break, 1 hour lunch break. So please, today we only have enough bentos for the full-time participants. So we'd like to invite the part-time participants to help yourself with the food option outside. Please observe vegetarian meal as well for this retreat. 那我们今天呢，就是只有足够的饭盒提供给全程参加者，所以我们就 就是要请我们的非全程参加者呢，到外头的素食摊那里，享用你的午餐。So, while you are enjoying your lunch, we'd like to also share about our building. We are actually making changes to our center's building to make more space for more participants to join us at the main shrine hall at level 2. So we'll be expanding the front portion, which we will have to shift the staircase to the back end and also include a electric chair that like a chair lift that can allow our elderlies who have difficulty going up the stairs